Hey guys, more planes upcoming. Also, I'm Gaspartian. What we have noted, you can see the difference here in the two sort of contracts that are given to you. You either have these 1-point surveys, and they are going to net you about 13k total, advance and completion counted. Then you have these, which are about as simple to do. This is on the surface. Flying, we have these. Payouts are similar, but you can see the payouts are 3 times as much. No, more. Even more. The payouts are insane. This is how you make money in the early game. What we have proven is that our plane does have the duration to take like the Srokia contract, and Rockmax is now also offering us a similar contract. I have looked in the map view. Both of these are very close to one another, so I think we do them both with one flight. So we're going to take a crew report here, and we're going to take pressure readings there. And this will net us enough money to like upgrade some of our facilities, do more rockets, that kind of thing. And Bill. First of all, we're not going to fly the Autobot. Bill, you haven't been in active service yet. Let's just put you on the vessel. Not that you'll actually contribute to anything. Like, what can you do? You can repack chutes. You can not repair wheels yet. It's the exact same plane as last time. We haven't redesigned it or anything. Means we don't pay any unlock costs for new parts, so that's great. It means we still have the same issues with central mass versus our back wheels there, but we knew what to do with that back then. We do the same thing now, and then we just go and pick up our free money. Okay, so we're going to also run a little experiment on our own here, and this was sort of an afterthought. I know some people don't really like watching airplanes, they want more rockets instead, and I wanted to see if many misconceptions people have about flying airplane missions in this game are correct. Many people shy away from them because they are under the impression that it's a bad use of their time. They want to progress quickly, and progress quickly naturally sort of tends you to want to go to space because, well, obviously that's the final frontier, that's where we're pushing the boundaries. I wanted to see if we compare like our time played a certain mission, how that compares to our returns in-game in forms of science and money. Like, I want to see how much money we're making per minute and how much science we're making per real-life minute. So that's why the timer there is not actually corresponding to the in-game timer, as you can see, because this timer is based upon the recording time, as in the actual time spent playing the game. And many people, they discredit planes as being slow and tedious and not having a good return on investment, like they're not worth flying because they take so long. But I suspect, and obviously this is to test my own suspicions as well, that plane missions are actually a fairly good return on investment compared to rocket missions, at least if you consider the time being time spent played. Obviously you have to factor in how much you enjoy flying planes and how much you enjoy flying rockets. Like, if you enjoy flying rockets immensely and just can't stand planes, well then obviously shy away from planes. That's a no-brainer. You should play the game the way you get the most enjoyment out of it. So this is only really factoring in career progression in our time spent. If we want to min-max this for reals, like we want to get to the end game and fly crazy big interplanetary missions sooner rather than later, we want to keep this series as short and condensed as possible, then obviously we want to get the best return on investment for our time spent playing it. However, you also need to enjoy the game. So what I wanted to see here, like, we're going to run this clock, and then after the mission we're going to like see, okay, we spent this amount of time playing the mission and it netted us these returns, and then we can enter that into a spreadsheet and sort of compare if people's assumptions about planes and other missions in general later on are going to be correct. Like if you don't enjoy flying planes or even watching planes, like don't worry, we'll do rocket stuff as well. This is the last plane mission for a while. Yeah, this was sort of an afterthought because I realized like we're doing pretty much the same thing as last episode, and that's not seeming like progression. But like I don't want to keep you in the dark either. I want to show you like everything we do. So I just assume, based on my experience, that flying plane missions is a good return on investment. But I want to test that theory, and I want to actually compare it in practice to what we end up getting from this and from other missions. So that's just a little experiment we're going to run here. We're of course running in-game experiments as we're flying this as well. I also during this flight decided to sort of add some corrections to last video, as I am prone to do, because just speaking for minutes or hours on end tends to make my mouth go all over the place, and maybe I don't always say the most accurate things. So yeah, let's cut back to the guy flying this mission, and he'll tell you what he's going to tell you. What we can observe here is that we have something called a flight envelope for this plane. What that means is that we have a regime in which we can maintain stable flight and certain attributes of that flight in that regime. Like at some altitude we're going to be too far up to maintain level flight because we can't deflect enough, we're going to induce too much drag, we're just going to fall back down. And we're pretty close to that altitude actually, because you can see as we try to maintain that altitude of like 12.2 kilometers, we have to deflect a bit more, and more deflection means we're going to slow down. So you can sort of imagine that there's a top speed for this plane at different altitudes, and as we go further and further up, at least beyond the point, that top speed is probably going to drop off. However, as we mentioned earlier, we also have this jet engine efficiency. We're going to have a static specific impulse, but like our fuel flow is going to vary with different altitudes and speeds. And for maximum efficiency, it's not necessarily so that you want to be as far up as possible, because maybe at some speeds, rather at some altitudes, your fuel consumption may be higher, but relative to that, maybe your speed, your ground speed, is going to be higher as well. And that means that over time you will be able to cover more distance on your fuel load than you would at a higher speed, at a higher altitude, while going slower. So finding your optimum cruising altitude is not necessarily as simple as an exercise as I made it out to be in the last episode. However, as a rule of thumb, higher up is going to be better. Obviously you want to min-max your fuel efficiency to a point. Like if you don't feel like doing that, then don't do that. If you feel like, okay, I min-maxed it to a point where yes, my plane is finally super efficient, make sure you actually have the patience to fly the plane for as long as it can actually fly. Otherwise that's wasted potential as well. Sort of why I went with the smaller tanks on this plane. I knew those would be enough for any mission I would actually feel like recording. We could go with larger tanks, but they wouldn't help us get anything done that I wanted to show you guys. So, more of a half episode really. Partially why I decided to add this analysis on top of the episode, this meta analysis, because we're not showing you anything new in-game. We're just sort of exploring different ideas, different takes on previous concepts, and well, as it turns out, like also comparing those concepts. Even at recording time I figured, well, this is going to be more efficient in getting us further in the progression. But that was an assumption, and now we want the analysis of that assumption. Very easy mission, right? We just take off, we go to the survey points, and then we come back for the landing. Nothing really shocks us here. We don't have any engine failure modes or whatever. We know it's just going to fly until it runs out of fuel. So we come in for the landing, and it's going to be as simple as pie because we've done this already, right? So we lost some parts. That's fine. Recover vessel. So, as promised, it's spreadsheet time. Just a very simple spreadsheet here. I mucked around more with the formatting than I did with the actual formulas, but we can expand this as required. Our plane here did a survey flight. It took 18 minutes and 55 seconds for us to complete this flight. We got from those from that time spent, we got a lot of funds and we got some science. We got 7,400 funds per minute played this mission, and only about 0.9 science. And this is science, of course, gained from both doing the experiments and returning the vessel, and also from the contracts. So as you can see, yeah, I think this value is actually going to be pretty hard to beat if you look at it. That's if you assume it's going to take about 4 minutes to get into low carbon orbit and possibly about as much to get down, you'd have to jump into orbit, get back, and earn 60,000 from that action alone to get this this return from such a mission. So we'll see if we can actually ever beat this, but right now I think it's looking pretty good. So we'll keep that in mind for future episodes and see if we can rush this series more efficiently. Of course, time spent making these spreadsheets are also going to be factored into this somehow. Maybe, no, it won't. We'll be making lots of spreadsheets. We'll see if we actually play the game at some point. Anyways, I've been Gaspachian. Sorry for half content, I suppose. But we'll get back to real rocketry soon. Bye.